Welcome to the Craig Mostyn Group 15-Minute Learning, IT training designed for the Craig Mostyn Group by TIALMS. This course is titled Excel from the Start. Now, we've covered 3 different Excel courses in this series, but they were all for moderately advanced users. And as I've talked to people around the various offices and sites, it's become obvious that some people, although they use spreadsheets, they may fill them in, do data entry, they don't really understand the fundamentals of putting spreadsheets together. So that's what this course is all about, Excel right from the beginning. And so the various areas we're going to look at today are navigating the sheet, how to move around, what the various parts of the sheet mean, adding and subtracting, multiplying, and finally percentages. And so this section is about navigating around the sheet. Now remember, there is a document that you can download to go with this course. It's a spreadsheet, and it is actually a copy of what we're going through here, this spreadsheet that you can see in front of you. So please download that and look at that whenever you need to. And it will also give you examples of how to do the various things like multiply, subtract, percentages and so on as you go along. So first of all, this is the spreadsheet. And you see that we have A, B, C, D, etc. across the top. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down the left-hand side. Therefore, if I put my cursor and click here in A1, that's what we call cell A1. And wherever we click in the spreadsheet, the cell will display here in the top left-hand name box. So if I click here, it says I'm in J3. So first thing is, that's a cell. Each individual square box is a cell. Then if we look here in the column M, that's a column. And on the side here at 13, that's a row. So where column M and row 13 meet, we get the cell M13. And again, that's the name of the cell, the number of the cell in the box there. So rows go across, that's a row, and columns go down. Now the entire thing you see here is very big. You can page down like this, thousands of rows. If I press down Control and Home, it will take me right back to the beginning. And the same way as going across this way, loads and loads and loads of columns. I'm just leaning on to move across and see where we're up to already. Press down Control, press Home, and I'm right back to the beginning. So this one sheet here is called a worksheet. And this worksheet we've titled Navigation. Now there's other tabs that you can see at the bottom here that we've created more worksheets for us to go through. And they're all in this file, which Excel calls a workbook. So we save it as a file. The file is referred to as a workbook, and it's made up of one or more sheets. And these are the worksheets that we'll be talking about today. So there we are, simple navigation for Excel. The standard sort of ribbons that we get across the top are very similar to you see in Word or PowerPoint and so on. And then there's some specific ones for things like formulas and data that apply specifically for Excel. Don't worry too much about all these things. You can learn these later on as you get more into using Excel. But today we're just going through the basic setup requirements. And so the next thing we'll do is move to the Add tab. See down the bottom here, click on Add, and I get this next tab in the workbook. And what we're going to go through is how you would just add up a row of numbers and where you're going to put the total. Now, one thing to think of, particularly if you use calculators all the time, would be to replace your calculators and use a spreadsheet instead. If you're sat at a desk using a calculator, this is far better because you can enter the numbers as you see in a row like this and get your total at the end. But if there's any issues, if you think there's something wrong, you can check your numbers. Whereas when you use a calculator, as soon as you've typed one in and add, you've ruined it. You can't just say, well, I've got 100 numbers in a row. I can see I've typed that one in wrong. Therefore, I change that one and I get the total I wanted. So remember to practice using the spreadsheet instead of using a calculator. So now then, entering numbers. So I've just typed in numbers in a row here. So I've typed in 99 and you see that it comes up there. 23, it comes up there. So if I went over here into O and in O1 typed in 21, I get 21. Next it automatically goes down 23, press enter and so on. So that's what we've done here. And then the last thing we've done is chosen that in A10 we're going to put a total field. Now the calculation formula for a total you can see here. So when I highlight that, it shows in the cell. Now a very quick way of doing that, if I'm just going to add a simple column of numbers like this, is use this icon here, the auto sum icon. So if I put my cursor here and I want to add those three numbers together, go to auto sum and it automatically puts in the formula for me. You can see the formula is equals sum, open brackets, O1, which is that one, colon is a reference to, so O1 to O3. And it looks at those three fields and adds them together for you. I've just highlighted that with this colour to show you that's a total. So in this one, the formula is equals sum A2 colon A9 close brackets. So remember, you can do that if you had your numbers going another way. If I had 1, 3, 4, 6 and I wanted a total here, click the auto sum and it does its best to try and work out what it thinks you're adding up. There, that's fairly obvious to it. So it's added up then and said 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 4 and 6 equals 14. So that's a simple way of just entering numbers and adding them up. Now here we've moved on very slightly from that and put in a way that we can enter as many numbers as we want into here, and the total at the top changes. So all we've done here is put the word total in there and coloured it in green. But in here, I've assumed I'm not going to have any more than 500 numbers. So the formula that I've typed into here is equal sum open brackets J3, which is here, colon J500. If I thought I was going to put in 5,000 numbers, I could just click in there and change that to 5,000. And that way, no matter what we do with this, I can clear all of these and I just get the sum of those. And then I can start adding other numbers in here as long as I like. And I just get a running total at the top here. So that's adding up. You can add down a column or across a row. You can use the auto sum feature. Now if I did use auto sum and left some gaps like this, let's see what auto sum does then. It's found the first one but not the last one. I can grab that box at the bottom and drag it out so that auto sum changes to the right row of numbers. Now also a very, very quick thing that you can do if you're just modelling and playing around in Excel and you want to see what the total of a selection of numbers are. It displays that for you automatically at the bottom of the screen. So if I highlight from here, so I left click here and just drag down and highlight those, I get the sum down the bottom here of the numbers, the count, how many numbers have I added together, and the average is automatically done. Excuse me, automatically done for me every time. So no matter what I highlight, I get the sum, the count, and the average. If I highlight all of those, I'm expecting that to be 2305, and there we are down the bottom, 2305. So please practice that a little bit, but you'll get the hang of that very quickly. That's various ways of using add. And then once again, we'll move down to the tabs at the bottom, and this time we're going to select subtract. Now, I've done these in a row, so we've entered the numbers, first column of numbers, second column of numbers, and the third column is the result of the subtraction. So these are just numbers entered exactly the same way as we saw we did previously, and this one, this row has the calculation. So to deduct whatever's in B2 from A2, the calculation is equals A2 minus B2. Next one down, equals A3 minus B3. A4 minus B4, and so on. Now I don't have to repeat that formula, typing it in each time. You see, if I highlight this cell here, I get a little green square at the bottom of the cell. Put my cursor over that green square and drag it down, and it will put the formula in each of those cells. Can you see each time I click one, you see the formula repeating, and it changes the formula for the row number. So you can see I'm in row 8, it says equals A8 minus B8. Now as soon as I put any numbers in here, 60 minus 10, I get 50, and so on. So subtract, very straightforward. Reference your numbers, equals A2 minus B2, so it takes 12 from 25 and puts the result in C2. Now we'll move tab again and go to multiply, and you'll see that multiplication works in a very similar way to the subtraction. So we have our two numbers again, and we want to multiply 25 by 12, so the formula is equals A2 asterisk B2. So it's important to remember that in a spreadsheet or in computer programming generally, an asterisk is the multiply sign, not the X that you would use if you were writing it freehand. So it must be an asterisk equals A2 asterisk B2. So if I was to do it over here, 10 times 5 times 6, I'd type in here equals H10 asterisk I10. And the result is nothing. Why is the result nothing? Because I should have put H3, not H10. H3 times I3. And now we have a result. And again, to move that down, that calculation, I can click that little green X in the corner, move it down, and then you can start other multiplications. 12 times 3 is 36. 8 times 12, and so on. So you can preset these. You can make yourself little templates of these things that you can just go back to. This remains constant, the multiplication side of it, but your numbers are clearly going to change all the time. So you can just blank them out. I can highlight a section, drag and highlight, right click and here. And now that's ready for me to do multiplication anytime I want. So go back in here, 14 times 25.3, and I get a result. So there we are, multiplication. Now moving to the next tab at the bottom, we're going to look at percentages. So in this case, I've entered my row of numbers in the same way as we saw before, just typed in the numbers, but I've formatted them as dollars. And you can do that by highlighting the whole row. That's clicking, left click on the A at the top there, and clicking on the percentage icon. Sorry, clicking on the dollar icon. We want dollars in this row. Clicking on the dollar icon. Now the second row is going to be the percentage amount that we're dealing with. And we need to format that correctly, and we're going to format that as a percentage. The increase is a simple calculation we'll go through in a second. And the reason I've got this cell here with the 10% in it is so that I can reference this cell with all the others. So when I change that, all the others will change. So if I change that to 25%, you see that everything has changed in a split second. So let's go through how all that works. I've got my dollar amount that I'm working on. And in here, I'm saying I want this cell to equal whatever is in E1. Now, if I replicate that down now, it will replicate it all the same, that each one of these cells will still look at E1. And the reason it does that is I put the dollar sign in front of the E and in front of the 1. So this cell equals $E, $1. So if I did that here, equals $E, $1. You see I get my 25%. If I didn't put the dollar sign in, I could put here equals E1. I get my 25% for that one. But as I copy it down, you see what happens. Each one then looks at E2, E3, E4, E5, etc. in sequence. And that is because I didn't put the dollar signs around. So using the dollar sign in front of the E and in front of the 1, makes that a constant reference, which in turn gives me the ability to change this whenever I want, change it to 15%, and everything changes. So the formula then for the increase is equal A2, so equal this field here, multiplied by, remember the multiplication sign is an asterisk, open brackets, 1 plus B2, close brackets. So 1 represents percentage and B2 represents the value. So it automatically calculates the increase, because it's a plus sign, increase of the percentage by B2. So what was $25 is now $28.75, with an increase of 15%. And in a similar fashion, to decrease the percentage worked in exactly the same way, except you put a minus sign instead of the plus sign. So to reduce $25 by 75%, it equals J2 times open bracket 1 minus K2 and close the bracket. And there's value. Now, at any time you want to, you can use copy and paste these calculations. So I can copy that and paste that over there. And the calculation is still true. I just haven't got any numbers in here. But if I typed 151 in there and made that a percentage and typed 12 in there, I automatically get my calculation of 151 increased by 12%, 169.12. So you can see you can copy a cell and it will copy the calculation formula that you've got in it. So there you go, some simple percentages. Now what we've seen is a very simple introduction to using spreadsheets. They are extremely powerful, but just learning that foundation of add, subtract, multiply, percentage and so on could save you a lot of time and effort in your normal day-to-day work. As you get comfortable with using the spreadsheet, please have a look at the other courses that we've prepared, Excel 1, 2 and 3, which use some of the more powerful functionality of Excel and can do some very, very interesting and useful things for you in your normal day-to-day work. So that completes Excel from the start. Please remember to take a minute or two to complete the questionnaire, and this helps us understand how many people are doing these courses and how much you understood about them, and it also gives you the opportunity to provide some feedback. Thank you.